There are three groups of people that are going to be watching this video. I think the first group of people will be those that have Bailu and are thinking of whether Luocha is going to be an upgrade for the Bailu on their account and how much better it is, if even at all. Maybe they are both the same. We will find out in this video as well. But the second group of people that are watching this video that maybe will find tons of value from it is you don't have Bailu, you don't have Luocha, and you're thinking, do you want to get either one? And you're thinking how much of the difference they are, and maybe you're close to your 300 standard banner pulls already, and or maybe eventually you'll be getting there, and you're thinking, yeah, maybe I'm going to just get Bailu instead of Luocha. This video definitely will be value adding to these kind of people. And the last group of people is the best of all. You don't have either of them and you don't plan to get any of them. You're going to skip on both of them, but you're just here either to support the channel or you're just interested to know more about the mechanics of the game, and you're just interested to find out more nitty-gritty in Honkai Star Rail. Either way, all three groups of people will highly benefit from this video. But now let's dive in with the content as well. You know we don't waste time on this channel. So what are the variables? I think the first variable we're going to talk about is in terms of traces. They are both running at a 676, where their skill, talent, and ultimate. Basic attack is the only variance here. You will see here 4, and I'm going to just switch quickly. You can see this is 3, but the rest is 676. This one doesn't really matter too much in my opinion. I think we are focusing more on the healing aspect of these characters, and towards the end of the video I'll also be talking about more differences between these two characters. But yeah, as you can see, the traces here, this is not leveled. These 3 are left empty for both of them, for Luocha as well as Bailu as well. And for the relics, I'm using a very neutral combination here. This is not my usual setup. As you can see, I'm just picking up Fleet of the Ageless, Passerby of Wondercloud, which is like very neutral sets that doesn't favor either one. Of course, you have a little bit of HP here, but we also get a bit of attack from this set as well, especially if they are all above 120 speed. So I think it's relatively neutral for now. Main stats, I'm also picking very neutral main stats. Outgoing healing bonus. There is like some HP here and there, some attack here and there on the sets that I have. As you can see, like some attack, some HP here, some damage here as well. We can't get absolutely the perfect like ratio of to HP and attack, so that it's very balanced, but I think this video will still give you a lot of value as well. We are just running a very simple energy restoration rate and fire damage bonus just because I want it to be neutral. No imaginary focus, no HP attack, or even lightning focus as well. So that's the variables we're working with. Other than that, I'm using time weights for no one. I only have 2 light cones leveled up on my account. I think it's much better if I show you a max leveled light cone rather than just forcing maybe a 1 out of 21, and we won't really get much value out of that. I think this one is a bit more neutral out of versus, for example, post-op conversation, which gives 21% advantage to Bailu because she heals in her ultimate. Luocha heals via his passive as well as skill. This one does give a bit of HP, but you get the 5-star stat scaling from this light cone as well, and of course the HP is of course higher for a 5-star light cone. So all in all, I think the setup is like geared a little bit more, if I were to be plainly honest, a bit more geared towards Bailu, favoring Bailu. But let's just see how it works as well. Bailu is currently not wielding any useful gear. I'll switch it around in the later part of the video as well. So enough talking. Now let's dive in and see the comparison and how much they actually heal by. Let's first start off with Luocha. So how we're going to do this testing is poor Ireland is going to be the guinea pig for this one. I'm going to actually forcefully set his life down so that we are able to see some healing numbers up as well. Perhaps I'm also going to switch up his gear so that he's more HP focused. Okay, and just a quick disclaimer, my Ireland's damage is not normally this low. As you can see, at half health is like 2.5k. I just put in as much HP gear as I can so that we can see the max healing. They do tend to overheal, especially in the skill as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just like smack something. Head over to Ireland's turn.
I'm fine. Thank you.
So we saw there is like a 2.5k heal from the skill so far, and I think what I'm also interested in is let's take a look at the passive healing as well.
Eternal sleep is the dead return. You chose the wrong enemy.
Fight to win.
Okay, now that we have seen some of that testing already, we see that Ireland has like 811 with his attacks. That is based off, of course, on Luocha's attack scaling. So we already seen, like for example, those 2 numbers. Let's take a look at Bailu's number as well. So just keep it in the back of mind, or I'll put it on screen as well. And these are my Bailu stats going into the same testing. As you can see here, I'm using the exact same light cones as well as relic combo as well. Now let's take a look at some numbers. Okay, I think first things first, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna smack something. And I'm gonna let him, for example, sap down to a bit lower life. So I'm gonna just use skill, smack, and I'm immediately casting the ultimate ability. Okay, so we see some numbers there, 1470 healing with the invigoration, of course, giving like 560 and stuff like that. What I'm interested in, of course, is these bouncy healings that they can do. I want to see what are the numbers for the skill ability, so it's more like apple to comparison.
I'm fine.
So quite significant amount of heal, like 1.2k, 1k and 800. That already is more or less better than, for example, Luocha. In terms of an apple-to-apple comparison. Now let's exit this and I'm going to share with you my thoughts on the differences so far. Okay, so one is like my verdict after seeing the numbers of comparing both Luocha as well as Bailu. I think if we are looking at a very standard kind of build where you are healing just one character, and of course the bouncy that Bailu has does miss quite often, as some of us might know. It might not go to the right character also. So in that sense, like in terms of absolute healing, targeted healing, Luocha's absolute is like much higher, and also it can come from his passive as well as active ability. So based on like absolute healing alone, the amount of healing that is chunked out at an instant, I think Bailu will triumph Luocha. So if you are maybe a person who doesn't really like to maybe plan in advance like how you're going to use his skill, how you want to have the uptime, or for example you're about to take a big hit and you didn't prepare, maybe your characters are low life, his passive skills on cooldown, these are some things to consider about like playstyle wise. Bailu is going to be a lot better in terms of feel. It's going to be very similar to Natasha, where you can just press one button, all of them heal up to full health. Of course, I think at max limit, like if you are able to min-max all the turn manipulation on him, get his passive up 100% or uptime, in my opinion, like the upper limit for this character is much higher. But as we can see based on raw numbers as well, Bailu does fight very well. Especially although of course this gear setup does favor her a little bit. My preference between the two, I still like Luocha a bit more, but I understand that not everyone likes a little bit more complicated characters as well. But one thing to point out is, and now let's go in more like differences after talking about some of the numbers already and giving some commentary. The main difference I think Luocha brings is on top of his healing, he's also for example a cleanser character. You have this in, for example, like Natasha as well as Mark 7. Luocha has it just all in one. And if you think about it, 50% when they are knocked down lower, very often like the character that goes down to below 50% might be burned or might be crowd controlled. Luocha just simply heals it up with his skill, removes that debuff, and they are back to action as well. Whereas if you are running Bailu, for example, you are going to need, for example, a character like Natasha as well, as for example like Mark 7, just to have two characters to do the same job as one person you can do. So I think that is like the first difference that he brings. Of course, I think Bailu, where she's more unique, is she does add some damage reduction, as you can see here. For example, she has some damage reduction with her invigoration uptime. She also has a revive in her skill, and I think in her talent right here, when your ally faints, she does revive them as well. So these are some things that are useful, but I think currently in the game state, revive is not really as important, because when you are in a game where you can just restart the match and go on to the next match, reviving is just like making your runs more tolerable, able for you to manage better, so you don't have to keep restarting. When does revive like come into play a little bit more? I think it's when we have PvP in the meta, if there will ever be PvP or anything that you can't restart and try again. That is when like you need to absolutely get that round right. That's when revive comes into more of an important play, and similarly for Jeppard's revive as well. But for now, I think that Luocha's kit is much better in the current game state of what we have and what we know right now. Also because if you look at his trace over here, if you use his ultimate ability, he is also able to remove buffs from the enemy. And a lot of us are fighting like Mara struck enemies and the mob that heals as well. So you remove that buff, or any buffed enemies like a greater attack buff, you can just simply remove it as well. It is not as reliable as a character, for example, like Pella, who is based on the skill, where she removes the ability in like her skill ability. Ultimate ability does take some time to charge up, especially if enemies just keep putting on their buffs. He does kind of lack in terms of speed of removing debuffs compared to a character like Pella, but he still is a combination of all these characters put into one, which makes him very, very versatile also. So I think overall, in my opinion, pretty strong as well. He's not as squishy as what a lot of people might think, especially if you put him, like as you see, a little bit of HP gear. He is actually quite tanky for a character that is scaling off of attack, and most people might build him for a little bit more attack as well. Where I think some of you, to answer the question, if you have Bailu now, do you need Luocha? And my honest answer is no, I don't think so. If you already have, for example, Natasha as well as Bailu, and you're planning to go on into the game, maybe you are worried that you are pulling Blade or other characters in future of destruction nature, Luocha is going to be good. He's going to be synergetic as well. But in the near term, like in the next patch and the following patch, I think a lot of attractive characters might be released also. And some of you can just do a bit of reading in unofficial stuff. I'm not recommending it. It's against the Toyoverse terms and conditions. But if you do a little bit of digging, you might be interested in some characters in the next patch or the following one. And from what I've felt in like the Honkai Star Rail and Genshin so far, it takes about roughly 2 full patches for free to play to guarantee one character, or maybe even a 50-50 of one character from just the free rewards. This means that if you get Luocha right now and you are skipping 2 patches of characters like Kafka, Blade, and who else is going to come up in 1.3 as well, are you willing to do that if you already have a healer? I don't think so. I think you could always pick him up in a rerun in sometime in the future as well. So don't need to stress. If a lot of people are saying he's good, let them test it out first. Let them play him a little bit more, test the combinations. You are more or less comfortable right now and you're in a position of power. So I think the second group of people, if you don't have either one and you're thinking you're sitting on the fence, maybe you want to pull one of them so far, I think these are the group of people that actively should start considering, because Luocha does help you push deeper into the memory of chaos as well. Having 2 healers does make a big difference. He works very well with a lot of existing characters already, especially if you have Yukong on the banner. You can get multiple of her Eidolons as well. She scales very nicely with Eidolons too. So I think that is overall pretty good value if you want to get a healer right now. One thing to of course note is, if you pull a character like Luocha, means that you are intending to risk losing your 50-50 on the next 1.2 that's upcoming. For example, some people are saying Blade as well as Kafka. Are you willing to skip those 2 characters for meta? And that's like the biggest consideration I have for most people. I think that if you were ask me for my biased opinion, if you want to enjoy the game longer, meta doesn't matter as much as pulling your waifu or husbandos. That will keep you in the game longer, because 1 star more in the memory of chaos honestly doesn't make a big difference, and that is like my honest feedback for you guys as well. And of course, if any of you guys are just here to support the video, hope you enjoyed the content as well. I changed my mic a little bit. Hopefully you guys can tell. Maybe the audio is a little bit better than my previous videos too. Otherwise, like and subscribe for more of such future content. And if you appreciate such videos, do check on these 2 other videos I have for you as well. And thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.